Check with Stan, see if he knows if he's up there.
But it's just.
I have 80.
Yeah, I got that
They
email.
didn't hear you, sir.
What email is that? Do I email this?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we ask you to inform our hearts and guide our minds in the decisions that we make and the analyses that we do. And we acknowledge our limited scope and abilities to think, and we recognize yours expansive scope. So we really do just ask that in our personal lives and here professionally, that you be the king, you take us where you want us to go. In your name, amen.
Reorganization.
Washington scored a touchdown last minute. I didn't take it off.
I don't know if it's here, but I think it was it's at 3 o'clock on next Thursday, 18th.
We're gonna do the
It was.
approval of minutes from the last
When did
meeting.
that come in? Because I might not have seen it.
I'll have-
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
Let's stand up.
We all had a chance to review them. Any additions, corrections? Minutes of the last meeting.
Make motion to approve.
I'll second.
Submitted.
John and who?
Kathy.
Kathy.
I thought I started out. Move.
No, really.
And because it's the new year, we'll have to reorganize our committees, their responsibilities, et cetera. So looking for nominations for, maybe you want to start with the president?
Yeah.
President of council.
If everybody's willing to keep the same positions, I'd make a motion to keep things as they are.
President and Vice President?
Yep. I'll second.
Moved and seconded, the council officers remain as they are. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Rex made the second. Right? Yeah.
Who's the vice president?
Corey.
Okay, good.
Mike is-
Maybe just for a couple minutes here.
With that motion, not having closed.
Yeah.
Well, next year I'm allowed to campaign.
Yes, we're
You're
fine.
still fine with Mr. Vice?
Yeah.
Or-
Want to make sure.
or- But you're still fine.
Yes. Hey,
You know what I'm
good
gonna do?
anyway.
So next year I'm allowed to
I mean,
campaign
we
again.
those minutes.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't hear that.
There.
Other appointments, you want to cover them?
No, we can go ahead and go in order if you want. We can do Barb's up first, and it looks like Mike, then county attorney, so forth and so on. I can do the appointments under my report. Yeah, Barb's right back there.
Barb, you're first up.
You all should have received an email containing the information that Barb gave us that she would be discussing with you and highlighting the events of last year and going forward, what to look at. So you should have all received those.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Barb.
So this is the end of my first 9 months as director of EMA. And Megan, our deputy director, started the first part of April. So we felt that it was important for us to give you an update on what our philosophy is for EMA and show you the accomplishments that we've made in 23 and what some of our plans are for 24. The 24 plans continue to change every day. You know, there's always something comes up new that we aren't aware of. But if it's okay with you, I will just read the cover page. I'm not going to go through the whole document. So, December 2023, this report is provided to the Adams County Commissioners, Adams County Council, and Adams County LEPC EMA committees on the overview of the accomplishments of the Adams County Emergency Management Department in 2023. Adams County Emergency Management has continued on an ambitious path toward a higher level of professionalism, and a greater commitment to maintaining the highest quality standard of living possible during the past year. Public safety is a vital governmental function. Our agency not only responds to a disaster once it has occurred, but we also spend a great deal of time and effort preparing for and mitigating such events before they make the headlines. Through coordinated prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery efforts, our agency stands ready for the task of ensuring public safety. It is the goal of the Emergency Management Agency to educate officials, the public, and other agencies on emergency management. This report serves to further acquaint you with the roles our agency plays in emergency and non-emergency times. We can now move on with clear minds as we are prepared to meet the challenge of an emergency or disaster. So the first page of the official director's report lists all of the events that we've been part of, exercises, trainings, and then there's also a page of 2024 projects that we plan on working on for this next year. Also included in that document was the Adams County Readiness Assessment that was done by Dustin Drake from our state liaison. And Adams County received almost a perfect score. We received 23 out of 25 points. The reason we did not get those 2 points is because emergency management does not have a cybersecurity plan, nor have we been involved in a county cybersecurity exercise. So to us, that's very important that we have that plan. You have had numerous conversations with commissioners and with Mike Brown in IT about what plan he has in place for the county. So we are going to be working on that shortly, like this month and next month, in trying to coordinate the information that Mike already has. Mike's concerns is the more people that know what the plan is, the less good the plan will be, because you don't want that information getting out to other people. So we're going to have a sit down and we're going to do some team meetings with the state on exactly how much information we are required to put into a plan so that we meet our requirements for our assessment. The other thing that's held us back is we have applied for numerous grants this past year. One of the newer requirements for grants is that you have to have a cybersecurity plan. And they used that as one of their 5 criteria as to whether we get grants or not. So of all the grants we wrote, which is probably 7 maybe total, we received 2 of those. And so right off the bat, we lost 5 points. It's a 30-point scale. Right off the bat, we lost 5 points because we don't have a cybersecurity plan in EMA. So that's one of the major things we're going to work on in 24. Another major thing is we are going to get dedicated facilities for warming and cooling centers for the county. We have talked about this for years now. We've used different locations. We tried to combine warming and cooling centers with alternate EOCs in case a storm would come through and take the jail out. We would have someplace else to set up. It's become impossible for us to coordinate all those things into 1 or 2 locations. So we're working with, my mind just went blank, maintenance here for the building.
Rick?
Rick. We're working with Rick Burkholder. We've talked to commissioners about it because once the generator gets completed or generator project gets completed for this building, then we can actually set down some rules about who's going to be responsible for it 24/7, who's going to have a key to get into it, how long, the hours of operation, just all those types of things. And then we also will have Riverside Center has always been one of our locations to use. Monroe Fire Department has been, but they don't have generator backup. Byrne Fire Department is another location. So we have several locations available. It's just that none of them meet all of our criteria. So that's
So
gonna,
will they be required to meet that criteria then, or?
well, we keep writing grants to try to get Riverside Center and Monroe Fire Department a generator backup and generator wiring. We've been denied both locations this past year because that would have taken care of two of our major locations.
But denied because of the cybersecurity requirement?
So
But that would be as easy as just putting their plan into your plan, I assume, or is it?
You'll have to
it,
work hand in hand with Mike on that, right?
it'll be a coordinated effort
Yeah.
between all the stakeholders. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a lot of things to do. Megan has a lot of courses she's going to be taking so that she can work her way into a director position when I decide to retire. We both are taking several classes we're signed up for. Rural domestic search and rescue, I think is one of them. So anyway, we have a lot of things we want to do this year to make EMA better, to make the county better. So all that information's in those documents.
Because I take it you also, I mean, obviously for cybersecurity, you're working with Mike, but I assume you're also working with the police and fire departments and sheriff's department,
Absolutely.
and they're aware of all that. And
Yes.
Okay.
Shelley Bright, I believe, is having a cybersecurity
Today,
today,
11.
but at the same time, we have two meetings today that you are all invited to. So the first meeting we have is at 10, from 10 to 12, and this is called a cross-border meeting. And we've been having these for years. It's Indiana, Ohio counties. They are Mercer, Van Wert, Adams County, Allen County, Jay County, Wayne, Dark, and Paulding County. And we have these meetings every other month. For probably the last year, most of the focus has been on Eclipse and how we're going to communications cross state and cross county. And then at 1 o'clock this afternoon, we are going to have our second, we call it cross-county meeting. And this is all the counties that are going to be affected as much as we are with the total eclipse. And so those counties are Blackford, Adams, Wells, Huntington, Jay, Grant, Van Wert, and Mercer. So all of these counties will be represented this afternoon. And we've encouraged them this meeting to bring at least one law enforcement and either their communications director or their 911 dispatch. We have over 25 people attending that meeting this afternoon. So all of these counties are seriously interested in how we as an area are going to put out the same message about the eclipse and what communications we're going to use for this. So you're all invited to that if you'd like to come. Any questions?
Solar eclipse is a national emergency.
It could be. Our concern, well, I hope you know, the schools have decided to close. So our concern is that at 3:09, when the eclipse is in totality here, the kids will be getting on school buses. Of all the data that we've collected from other counties and states from the 2017 eclipse, traffic could be backed up for hours,
So
nonstop.
this is supposed to be one of the best areas to see it, right? So I've been told that hotels are already booking up in the area, all kinds of stuff. I mean,
Hotels,
maybe not here in Decatur, but probably in Fort Wayne, and so it could be a real cluster.
Bloomington, Indianapolis, all hotels are booked. DNR attends our meetings, and they said the campgrounds in the viewing areas are completely full for that weekend. So it's not the eclipse that we're so concerned about. We are concerned about people viewing it without specialty glasses. That's an issue. And we can only encourage and educate people. And we're trying to get as many glasses as we can as in EMA to give out to the community. Our concern is what's gonna happen when the traffic is stopped, when no one can move, when on a regular basis, someone has a heart attack or a stroke or gets injured and needs an ambulance. How are these vehicles gonna get through all this traffic? That's the disaster part to us. That's what we are planning for. And then the other thing is, we've been told by many, many people that have experienced this, there will be no cell phone. Or it could be very sketchy because the system is gonna be so overloaded with people taking pictures, sending messages, talking, whatever. So we've just tried to take in as much information as we can from people that have experienced it, have been through it. We use after-action reports for almost everything we do, our exercises, our meetings, things like that. So we've looked at other counties' after-action reports, which they have posted or sent to us. Those after-action reports identify what they did right and what their gaps were. We are using that as an outline to make sure that we have at least considered every item on their after-action reports and are trying to be ready for that.
Were you contacted or involved in any way at yesterday's countywide event?
The only way we were contacted was, because we were in a meeting in Huntington County, and Bernie with Allen County was there. So we got a message because Megan's son goes to Adams Central. And so when we got back, we went into dispatch and talked to Bill Grimm, but we were never contacted by any of the schools.
Do you think it should have been? I'm not sure. That was a countywide weird
That was more than
scenario.
like,
For us, it was countywide.
Yeah.
But could you have done anything?
No.
Uh,
So we have thoughts about this. We've discussed this. We at EMA have each of our major school systems plans in our office. We know what their plans look like. We also share that with law enforcement and with fire so that we are all aware of how they plan to work through a situation like this. We are there as a stakeholder. We are there as support and resource. So if we need to be dispatched out, if they need us, they will call dispatch and say, we need EMA. So we do not take it upon ourselves just to go into someone else's area when they already have a plan set up, that they've exercised and feel that that it works for them.
there should still be though, I mean, just because they don't need you at that exact moment, there should be a contact list that's, of course, law enforcement and all emergency services should probably be contacted, but I would think you would be too, even if you're not needed right that moment, you may be. And you would be able to mobilize and be ready. I mean, that only makes sense to me. So, I don't know, I think that should be revisited probably.
And we probably, well, tomorrow is the school safety meetings at Adams Central, and EMA attends those every time they have one. And we will bring that up and see what their thoughts are on the process.
But definitely it should be all the school districts though, not just Adams Central or just North Adams. All three should be, that should be part of their plan is to notify you guys.
And all of the superintendents or principals from all the schools in the county are invited to these school safety meetings. And even if they don't attend, they get the minutes from the meetings to know what was discussed. So yes, it will probably, most probably, come up as a conversation. So,
In the event of a natural disaster or something else more drastic than that, who's actually in charge of this? Who's coordinating all of the effort of all the people as desperate as we are?
if we were to have, so would you consider a tornado a disaster? A severe tornado coming through? If something like that were to happen, Or for instance, like the flooding that we've had in this county in the past.
For the Soya incident a couple
The
months ago.
Soy Bundy's incident.
Bungie.
What happens in that instance is the first call comes into dispatch. Dispatch contacts law enforcement, fire, and EMA. We get together as a group and discuss, and then we contact commissioners, and we bring a commissioner in, and then we discuss as a group with our commissioner so that everyone's on the same page as what our plan's gonna be.
So you would coordinate that?
Yes. But it starts with dispatch.
Even so, yesterday was not a disaster. If a bomb goes off in one of the schools, it's a disaster.
Yes.
So that's why you should be notified and of any of the school districts. Just so, I mean, instead of finding out when the bomb goes off, you should be notified when the threat happens. And that way you can be prepared to mobilize and do what you have to do, whatever that is. But
We will bring that up to the school safety meeting tomorrow and see what the superintendents and the principals, what their thoughts are on it. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark, just one question. Where was the 2017 event you talked about? Where was that?
That was,
In the US?
yes, Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky? I didn't know where it all.
And you can Google 2017 total eclipse.
Okay.
And you can even Google after action report, and the reports that we get directly from them are online. Thank you.
Eric, are you too old for the Google?
Oh, no, I didn't. I just, it's right here. I just, I had to.
I'm just teasing you. That's all right, Jim? I tease Eric a little bit.
Well, it looks like we're prepared for anything.
Ready, sir.
Mike.
Mike, you're up.
And as Mike comes up, I had tried to keep up with all of the emails to you all on what is going on with this so that you would be somewhat prepared going in on what this is about. If you remember, last month, you ended up approving $300,000 of ARPA along with what was spent and budgeted in 23 and what Mike had budgeted in 24. All of that has been used up. Originally, I think the number we were looking at as to what would be left overall was going to be around 126,000. Mike has come in now, it's actually a lower number than that to pay all of it off. And unless it's changed since the last time we talked, Mike, the amount left is $87,218.52 to be able to pay all of that off. At this point, we don't have that much left in ARPA because of everything that's been committed. I'm not sure where else we would pay it from at this particular time. We can't, as I stated in the emails, we have not received our 2024 budget orders yet, which normally we would have, but there's one taxing unit in the county that is still within their 1782 notice window. So we cannot do an additional until that is released. So saying all of that, I'll let Mike answer any questions you have or comments or whatever you need to say, Mike.
Yeah, you pretty well outlined it, so that's where we're at.
Okay.
I got invoicing that I need to pay of be 14,000 less than 87. So what was it, about 72? Yeah, looks like $72,783.70. I got an outstanding invoice that they've asked if we could get it paid by the 17th. And Tony said if we could come to some sort of conclusion today on where we're going to pay that, then I can make that happen. that I don't have an invoice for the rest, which is $14,434.82. I expect it to be coming once we get everything showing up.
And the way, if council, this is a two-pronged thing, it takes both bodies. If council agrees to pay the 87,218.52 out of rainy day, it would be contingent upon the next meeting of the commissioners approving this as an emergency because you need the servers to be able to function as a county. You wouldn't have the computer, I mean, it would be a problem, a big problem. So that would be defined as an emergency. If you all approve that today, the invoice, claim, everything else would be prepared. We'd have it. And on the 16th, if the commissioners approve that as an emergency, we'll get the payment in right then. And that would be before the 17th date that the company said they wanted.
Yeah.
So.
Doing it before the 17th, they've given us a little bit of a discount, it sounds like.
No.
No? Oh, okay.
That's
That's the way it was presented to us. but-
They've discounted about everything they
Have
can
they?
get.
Okay.
Yeah, we really hit them hard on that.
Okay.
Through that, so.
I make a motion to pay it out a rainy day, and I've looked at it a little bit outside of here, and that seems like it's the best option, contingent upon the commissioner's declaration of a emergency.
And commissioners, are you guys likely to go that direction?
And we're using the rainy day fund considering this an emergency?
You would have to declare it to be an emergency situation that it needs to be paid so that the servers would function properly, so the county could operate with its electronic system.
And that's why I was just looking at some of these other funds as far as county general, whether there's this fund. So we would have to consider rainy day or leave it alone.
I don't know
I'm
where
trying-
else we would do it. I mean,
Yeah, I'm trying to follow all this, but it's basically the issue that we
We can't
really
do
can't do an
we can't
additional
do an
because we
additional
don't
right
have the
now.
budget order back from the state
That's,
yet.
that's
Right.
correct.
That's why otherwise, to me,
Even if there was
Otherwise, I
a
think
fund,
I'd
we don't have the additional, we
Yeah.
can't do the additional for it, and he's on a timeline to get it paid. Now, if council,
So basically, we're using the rainy day fund because of the timeline.
yes.
We can't do an additional right
That
now.
would be replaced with an appropriation.
Yeah, and one thing that you could do, if the council's concerned about taking money out of rainy day at budget time, if instead of the 100,000 to put in that, they could put 187,218 in there if they wanted to make up for this difference. Because right now, they're only budgeting 100,000 into rainy day. That would be a discussion council could have at budget time.
Yeah, that's my only thought that that would get replaced.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. If we could do an additional, I would take it out of county general, but we can't do it.
But to me, that timeline, sure, I think.
Yeah.
Barb mentioned additional cybersecurity. Is what we have presently all that we need to affect that plan?
There are going to be discussions on that coming up in
We're
executive
taking
sessions and so
steps.
forth.
This is not simple math when you talk cybersecurity. And we have, since I've come on board, we have taken steps methodically to try and get things done that we didn't have things put in place so that we can meet up. I mean, 2020 was across the state of Indiana was mostly a very difficult time, but not as difficult as other states. But it was very difficult. And, we want to take precautions on this. And I'm just going to say something, and I got to be careful when I do say some stuff here, because you heard Barb say that we can't get into what we do and how we operate and all that stuff, because they might know something about a problem with one of those systems that a lot of people don't know about, okay? But anyway, they're not after our stuff. They're after a way to get to Indianapolis. There's 92 ways to get to Indianapolis in Indiana. You got it? I mean, that's about as simple as I can say it.
There are sessions, executive sessions, a meeting after this meeting today to discuss cybersecurity. So it's an ongoing.
And you know, so many times what I hear is, why are you doing all this stuff? We don't need to do this, Mike. If they were just after our information, you're probably right. They're not after our information.
But we could be a useful tool in that, I mean, holding us
Everybody's
ransom.
trying to straighten this up, Dennis, now, because of what happened in 2020. But because of what happened in 2020, I can't divulge a lot of stuff.
We have a motion and a second, by the way, Kathy seconded.
So,
She had a second.
so that's as far as I'll go. Now, if you need more detail, one at a time, come up in my office and I'll give you as much detail as I think you need to know. Okay?
Well, we have a motion and a second to use the rainy day fund in total.
Contingent upon the commissioners declaring an emergency next week.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Mike.
thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Is national election.
Oh, the election, okay. I know, okay. Why influence that makes it? Well, something else.
Where we go?
Yes, we talked.
I got more nerves, a lot of it. I know I definitely have a better understanding.
You want to go ahead and and what is the resolution? And then I had community corrections under you, even though I'll handle it, but we can bring them up when you're done with your two things.
Okay.
And I'll look up the resolution we're talking about.
It's just more soft stuff.
Friday. That's what you created. That's why you use that.
It's just the problems hurting all the time.
Okay, Joy Marie?
Thank you. Good morning, all. Happy New Year. First on my agenda, I have the interlocal agreement between Adams and Wells County. This is for the engagement of Nick Rumschlag as the engineer for Adams County. He will be working part-time with both counties, so it had to be something that was passed by council as well as commissioners in both counties. I have prepared the interlocal agreement. It was previously discussed. I believe that it's in the minutes that it was agreed upon by council as well as commissioners in consideration for his services. Nick is going to be paid, Wells County is paying Adams County the sum of $1,500 per week.
I think this is the first council's hearing of it.
Yeah, we haven't heard of.
Oh, you haven't?
And commissioners,
I believe it was mentioned, but perhaps no in-depth discussions.
I think Stan had wanted to possibly
It's up to
speak to
you.
it.
Do you want us to speak to that, Julie Marie?
Yes, that would be helpful. Thank you.
All right, well, as you know, we had hired Nate Rumschlag as our county engineer, and he was previously employed at Wells County. So he had several projects that were in the works, federal aid projects, among other things. So what we agreed to was to let him work over there 1 day a week through December, and at no cost to them. So we would like to take an interlocal agreement out 90 days, and that would involve compensation from them. And that would allow him enough time, to wrap up some federal aid projects, and that would still allow us compensation for him working there 1 day a week.
So this is
So
a
at
temporary
that
thing?
point, at the end of 90 days, it would stop, so.
Okay, so this is only for 3 months. And then he's full-time Adams County.
So anyway, we've kind of, met for this interlocal agreement, with, I think Steve Bailey and Nate and Shannon, and they all kind of worked on this together to our agreement, to our satisfaction as commissioners, HR and Nate. And so what we would like to do, if you're okay with doing it this way, we'll present this at our meeting next week and make sure that commissioners are all in favor of this, take action.
And that sum is, I assume, the 1 day a week, 20%, however you want
It is $1,500 a week.
to, is that equivalent to 1 day a week?
It's actually, I'd say it's, yeah,
Okay.
more like a consultant type fee almost, right?
Well, maybe we'll just keep you over there permanent.
That's why there's 90 days in there, so I'm not doing this for free for too long.
Yeah. So, anyway, Steve, you worked on the agreement, Nate, you worked, and Shannon, I don't know if you'd like to speak to this at all, but.
We got the numbers from Shannon as far as what would be appropriate to cover needs all-in costs. And then we bonused that up a little bit to give us some incentive to make that work.
That's why I was asking if there's a premium
Yeah.
or if it's just 20%.
Yeah, I think when we calculated the all-in cost, it's somewhere closer to $1,000 a week, so there's a premium involved.
Okay.
And if you agree on it as council and we approve it at our commissioners meeting, then I believe the Wells County Commissioners meet on the 17th, which is like a day after our meeting. And so that, I think that's correct. But, so if it's approved by you and by commissioners, we would present it to them at their meeting.
But just to say it one more time, it's definitely just a 3-month thing and then you're full-time here in Adams County.
For our office purposes, we're gonna need how to pay this in, how they're paying us, and get that all set up in our office. So if Shannon or somebody can come in and get with us on how this is going, I mean, we have to know how that's being done and where it's being paid from and all that stuff.
Okay, do you have any recommendations, or would council like to make that decision today? Or?
Well, if they vote to approve this, we just need to know how we're getting the $1,500, where it's coming from, what it's being paid into, all that stuff. So we just have to get that. They can pass it today, and then Shannon or somebody can get with us later to figure out how to do it. Bree is actually on here. I don't know if she wants to speak to that or not. She is not feeling well, but she wanted to join remotely on here. Bree, if you can say that more succinctly than I was able to as to what we're going to need to know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I guess we just need to know, I mean, obviously we'll need a copy of the interlocal agreement, but then also the dollar amount, I guess, and I don't know how, we'll need to know how it's going to get to us. Are they going to send us a check weekly? Are they going to EFT it to us? What fund? Stuff like that.
Would that be something that would be worked out? Initially, you would have to decide where the money would come into, but is that something that you would work out with their auditor?
I mean, yeah, I can.
Or is that a decision that council would have to make?
No, I mean, I would say it's going to more than likely go back into general because that's where he's being paid from. But I would just say, obviously, keep our office in the loop since the money is going to come in to our office and we have to pay it in and such.
Okay, so till the agreement is complete, there's if it's agreed upon today by council, then we would take action on it next week, present it to Wells County,
and if they take action on and they accept that agreement, then that would make it an official agreement. At that point, you know, we could decide how.
Lisa McCormick over there can, we talk all the time. She can get with us on how they want to send that money. So once it's all said and done, you meet with them, we can get with them and figure out how they want
And
to.
this is only for 90 days, correct? Or for 3 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shannon, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the
Second.
resolution.
Rex is second, John is first.
John Grant.
Circular that. And,
This is it.
yes.
And I just need to
It's
sign by everybody.
to Tony.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to sign it now, I'll send it around to everybody else, and that way we won't forget you, and I won't have to come out to Cross Creek.
And just for clarification, that's not a resolution, that's the interlocal agreement. I do have a mandatory resolution number 2024-2. That would be amending 2023-4, which awarded ARPA funds to Parks and Rec for improvement of their facilities. If you recall, at the December meeting, it was determined that there was a $19,000 some overage on one of their projects, but this project did not come in nearly as expensive as they had anticipated. So rather than taking money from somewhere else, this is going to put money back into the ARPA funds in the amount of $19,147, which was the supplemental amount that was approved in another resolution last month. So basically, we're just putting this money back so it can be taken back out for Parks and Rec. It's simply an accounting measure. So at this time, I would ask your consideration of 2024-2.
We need a motion for that.
Yes.
Did you guys vote on the interim?
Yeah, they approved
Yes,
it.
yes, they approved it.
You want to copy?
Everybody signed. We've
I'll
got
have
that.
this.
We didn't vote. We had a motion first.
Motion, a second, no vote?
Oh, sorry.
Motion, second, they still need to vote.
Rex is, have a motion before us to, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just kind of in closing to that, we're just very happy to have Nate over here with us. We just see him as a real valuable resource for the county and look forward to having him on our staff.
Stan, I didn't look at that. Do you want another copy signed? Do you need to take a signed copy over to Wells County for them to sign as well? You know? Oh. there's
I don't know if we'll have to
no-
take a signed copy.
Okay, there you go. You got it. So I'll just keep the one that they're signing.
Okay.
And we should be good once you guys do that, and then once you let me know what Wells County did, we'll just contact Lisa.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
There's been an issue with regards to community corrections, salary and payroll. That was an issue a couple of years ago. I think
Ian, if you and the judge want to come up, this is, what?
But we need to do a motion and vote on
We
this.
haven't done the resolution. The resolution. We're getting ahead of ourselves, doing it.
what happened.
What was that number, resolution 2024-2? Anybody want to make a motion second? Bob,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
John, now a vote.
All those in favor of
Aye.
2024-2?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed?
Okay,
Oh, no, copy.
any of you that were here in 18, 19, and 20, Dennis was, Corey, Stan, Steve, Ed, myself, this issue came up for 3 years. Actually, Julie Marie as well was here. And unfortunately, at the time that this was all done, the documentation and the minutes and so forth was not done as efficiently as it should have been. Because as people and faces change, you have to have something to point to that shows what was voted on, what was in the minutes and all of that, and that was missing. So now this discussion is coming up regarding a couple of different issues. There are really two separate issues on this. Community corrections is listed as non-categorized. The compensation package that was passed in 2022 states that non-categorized are not eligible for the up to 25-cent performance evaluation. However, back in 2020, it was in the minutes, and it was determined after Julie Marie had spoken with the Attorney General's office and so forth, that the advisory board determines the wage for community corrections and then informs the council, and the council acts as the grant administrator. So I think Ian would be the first to admit that community corrections is sort of an odd duck out there a little bit. And he's in a good mood today because Michigan won last night.
Sleepy.
But because we need something, and I've got it the way we're going to need it, should council do this. The advisory board met last night, and in their minutes, it now has what these questions are. It was answered in their minutes. So now we're trying to get it into this. And Ian, did you want to speak to why? I know Fred's heard this because he's on the advisory board, but for everybody else, if you want to speak as to why you asked community corrections be non-categorized.
So we asked to not be categorized when the county went to the categorization system because for two reasons. Some of the job descriptions at community corrections don't meet other job descriptions amongst the county categorizations. In addition to that, there was fear that there would be unfunded increases in pay that the community corrections grant and budget couldn't cover, and the county didn't sound like they were going to pay the differences, and so that's why we asked to not be categorized at the time. So the reason we're here today is that when the salary ordinance were sent out last week, I realized that there was a difference in what we submitted through our 144s to the county and what was approved by the advisory board back in July versus what was on the salary ordinance, what you saw, what you received, and you approved. And so that difference turned out to be $520 for several staff members, which we found out was the 25-cent performance evaluation incentive that the categorized employees were given. The other issue was that case manager Stephanie Beaver, her pay was over $5,500 difference than what was submitted. And we found out that that was because when community corrections went to paying staff case managers on the probation scale, Stephanie Beaver and other case managers had been case managers prior to taking the probation officer test, and the board retroed that pay to when they became case managers. And so that just needs to be clarified.
And what that would mean is you would be going along with what the advisory board did, and you would be approving that case managers' pay is based off when they become case managers and not off the hire date or the day they pass the test. Is that correct, Shannon? Did I say that correctly? So that would be the motion. And there are two separate issues here. That is one of them. If someone wanted to make a motion to approve the advisory board request that case managers' pay is based off when they become case managers and not off the hire date or the date they pass the test.
And that's your request?
Right, and that's what was, I guess, the advisory board voted again last night to go forward with that, which they had already originally done when we went to the pay
You
scale.
guys are on an island, self-sustaining. I take your recommendation.
Second.
And then from the county's perspective, they are uncategorized, or there's a question mark about it?
I want to clarify that. They are not considered uncategorized. They are considered exempt from the compensation plan that the county offers.
I see.
They set their own wages, they set their own salaries, et cetera. they don't participate in what we do for the rest of this.
Okay, so then the only reason we are even involved at all is because we're essentially like a grant administrator of types.
The overseer.
Right.
Well, the reason that was that gets to the point money, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I think Ian tries to go along county guidelines mostly though. Some of those wages are determined by the fact that they're the probationary officer scale, right? And then everybody else, I think, is, I don't know if it's exactly, because I don't have the pay scale memorized by any stretch, but I think you try to follow that and then they follow along with the raises and all that other stuff. Is that
Yes.
correct? So,
The trickiest part is that our grant is usually due in March or April, and the county hasn't finalized what they're going to do but we do what we can to make sure that we're as close as possible.
So their board last night approved the pay and the budget as it was submitted then, which is the way that we have put the salary ordinance. We changed the salary ordinance to reflect that, should you all decide to, I guess, give the advisory board the blessing that they are allowed that, even though it doesn't reflect the compensation package. I think I said that right. I don't know if I said that right.
John motioned and I seconded it, so.
John and Fred?
I just have one question for you both, and I guess the only question that matters for us is, without your budget right in front of us right now, is it solvent? I mean, are you, with what you want to pay, are we sufficient? I know there were some questions about participant numbers being low and all this,
Yeah, so our numbers are up, a little, I mean, not quite to where I want them to be, but we are up to 40 people on electronic monitoring right now. We do have a position that's unfilled. We lost an administrative assistant, and we've absorbed those responsibilities for the time being in order to slow the budget a little bit. But our overall final project income balance was about $12,000 higher at the end of this year than it was last year. So we're in better shape now going into 2024 than we were going into 2023, but still something that we're constantly looking at and evaluating.
you expect it to be cash flow positive or negative at the end of the year?
I mean, I'm hoping it's positive.
So we don't get lost in translation again, would you please state what we're approving?
Well, there's gonna be two different motions. The one on the table now is the case manager's pay being based off when they become case managers and not off the hire date or the date they pass the test. That would be the first one, and I think John and Fred made the motion and second on that.
I was under the impression it was over the pay scale that was submitted.
I mean, you can do that too. You can do either one, or you can do both if you want to. It's just two separate issues that.
He motioned and I seconded to approve the 3% or the quarter.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I'll motion, this is again for case managers to be, paid as case managers on the date they become case managers.
Okay.
Not your hire date, not your test date, but the day you start
Gotcha.
working as one.
I'll second that.
And Bob?
Have a motion before us, all those in favor? Opposed?
I want to ask Human Resources
Two
because
motions before us.
we may not all the same people be here in future years. Are those motions, as opposed to back in the day, are those motions to be in the minutes sufficient? If you and I and other people are gone and somebody else asks this question, looks at it, are those sufficient enough to show what's being done? Is it good?
Well, also, besides
Okay.
having just
Okay.
notes in a meeting, I mean, as part of the salary ordinance, shouldn't that somehow be included in there so you don't have to search through?
Yeah, and it's right here. You guys will be approving the salary ordinance here.
No, those are the numbers. I'm talking about the process.
So Fred, what I can do is you guys have already given me direction on bringing the comp plan back in front of you to kind of look at it, revisit it, make sure it's right. So I can include this in that, just as a separate subsection for specifically community corrections. So we have all the documentation and the processing one.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if this comes up in 10 years, then everybody's digging through notes to try to find it. Let's just put it in a process.
I'll bring
That way we know.
I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah. Leave a paper trail.
Thank you, guys.
So real quick, before I go, I want to give a shout out to the treasurer's office real quick. In 2023, we began taking payments at community corrections, including cash and credit cards. And when that happened, I'll tell you, I was scared because now it's State Board of Accounts. We didn't deal with that before. That's a lot more work, money coming through the office. We processed almost 1,500 transactions in our office last year. And it's been a pleasure to work with Ed and his staff at the treasurer's office. One of us brings the deposit over to him every day, almost every day, depending on what's brought in. And we've had no hiccups, to my knowledge, and it's been a great process. So since he's here, and I know he doesn't get enough credit, but it went well. So
And then
that's all I got.
we get to see you when you bring it to us.
Oh, yeah, I have to see Tony too.
Now I wish Washington would have.
Ian,
Thank you.
you should be happy, right?
I was waiting for a text from you last night.
I went to bed before this. I knew he was gonna win.
I got salary ordinance, I got sheriff's contract, and I got the appointments. Yes. So I'm ready.
I noticed that shirt when you walked in.
Points at me.
Came back and gives me in trouble. I didn't see it flip top and up.
More of my colors.
Okay, Tony's up.
Okay, I have a few things. I believe you all received by email the salary ordinance. And if you approve this, it reflects what just transpired. It would be correct according to what you just did.
Make a motion to approve the salary ordinance.
Again.
John has a second. Who was first?
Fred.
Fred and John.
Got it?
Have a motion to approve the salary ordinance as presented. All those in favor? Opposed?
Okay. You want to sign down there first, and then I'll pass that around. Okay, the next thing that I have is the sheriff's salary contract. And commissioners, if I say anything wrong, speak up. Commissioners have approved this. It now comes to council for approval. And this contract is based on a percentage of what the judges get. Is that correct, Stan?
By statute.
By statute. And the amount of on the contract is $119,035 for the calendar year 24. And again, that is dictated by statute according to what judges make and so forth. Commissioners have approved it, but it now needs council approval. And if you do so, Dennis would sign in. That would be the only signature I would need.
Motion. Second.
Corey and Fred. At $35. So yeah, that just needs you to sign right there because
This needs a motion.
well, Corey made the motion, Fred seconded, we just need to vote.
Okay, you have a motion and a second to approve the salary for the sheriff.
Need a
All those in
vote.
favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed?
Now we have, well, annually, we have council appointments. There are some that are just 1 year. Would you prefer to do those one at a time? Probably. I would be happy probably. The first that I have is Beth Corson as a council appointment to the Public Library Board. This would go from 2024 to the end of 2027. So it is Beth Corson.
She new or is she a re-up?
She's a re-up. Where'd my ink pen go?
No, that's fine.
How did these people all get picked, or, I mean, I think Kelly Anger had this name and she's a re-up.
So it's a recommendation from her.
Yeah, it's a recommendation from, the various, Oh, there it is.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. We do them all at once, unless somebody's got somebody else they want to interject.
I can do them all at
Please.
once if you want to.
Let's do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second, then you want to take that away until we do the rest of them?
Tony, how's Corson spelled, your last name?
It is, let me find it, Koorsen. Okay, I have 3 other appointments.
I think we're gonna elect to do them all at once.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay,
I'm naming the other appointments.
all right, thanks.
The first one was Beth Corson. The second is County Council Attorney. And if you are so inclined to approve, Julie Marie Brown would be doing that for another year. The next is the PETA BOA Board, which is the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals. This person would be replacing Don Kuhn because Don got named to the election board. So they are finding somebody new for the PETA BOA Board, and that person is Jeff Keese. Eric, that's Kiess. So Jeff Keese to the PETA BOA.
Who's he recommended by?
Mary Berry, assessor. And
I'm just curious on that one. What's the back, like, did he used to have some experience in this, or how did he?
I would assume, and I don't know, it used to be by statute that you had to have members of different political parties, but I don't know if that's the case anymore for PETA BOA. Stan, do you know how Jeff?
He worked for appraisal research for many years, and appraisal research has always been who we contracted to do our property taxes. Not personal property, but real property assessment. So, you know, he's got years and years of experience in real estate.
So he has definitely, okay.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Tony, is Jeff Keystone 1 year or 2 year, or how long is it?
Let me look. Hold on. I believe that's a 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah. This one is also a 1 year, I believe. The Alcohol Beverage Board, Toby Sprunger was the member. I called Toby to ask him if he would like to continue doing that and be appointed. Toby Sprunger said yes. So that is the name for the Alcohol Beverage Board. And those are all of the appointments that we have.
A motion to approve all appointments as presented.
1 second.
Brian Jones,
Throw Bob on there.
approve the appointments as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Here's the one that needs to, you need to sign one where it says president. Okay. What else do I have here? I do have one more thing. You do not need to necessarily do this today, but sometime before May, it was missed on our meeting dates, and you all have May 7th, Tuesday, May 7th as a meeting day, but that's primary election day. So be thinking over the next month or two, if you would rather meet on the 6th or the 8th, or how you want to do that. We can have that amended and redone for all your meeting dates. We can have that amended at your next month's meeting if you are prepared with a day that you would rather do it Monday or Wednesday.
Well, I would say normally we do the second Tuesday of the month, right? So
Yes.
the second Tuesday would actually be the 14th. I'm guessing that's why I got confused, because it's the 7th, so it looks like it's the second, but
Yeah, I think
if we stick with the second, that's what I already had on my calendar anyway, so I had the 14th down.
I've got the 14th as well.
So 14th.
Well, that's when it's supposed to be.
By default.
Yeah.
I don't have the meeting dates in front of me.
Yeah.
May 7th is actually the first Tuesday of May.
So I think that's why I
That's
must have got
why-
confused.
Yes.
I had several people tell me that May 7th was council meeting day.
On the ordinance we approved last November, we had listed on there May 7th.
That's why,
But it should be the
Should
14th.
be the 14th.
Okay, we'll get that. If that's the case, then we will just change that 7 to a 14, and then we should be good.
Yep.
Okay? We'll bring that to you guys next month. And I think for the commissioners, we're gonna have a similar. No, we won't. Because your meeting date would be,
Our meeting date would be the 7th.
We-
I think
we-
moved it to the 8th.
yes, we moved it to the 8th, so that is probably correct. Because I guess we were thinking that the 7th was the second Tuesday. But we'll get that changed and back to you guys, then we should be good on all the meeting dates for everybody.
We don't need a vote on it.
No, that'll be next month. We'll bring the amended one next month.
Is that all right?
I don't want to forget anything. There's 4 of them altogether.
Anything else?
Let me think. I had quite a bit, I want to make sure. I don't know. I guess the only other, all of you sit on various committees and so forth. If you're still good with what you're sitting on, then we're fine, but if anybody wanted to make a change of some sort, we would have to reflect that, otherwise we should be good.
I'm fine keeping things how they are.
Okay,
I wouldn't mind switching around just to experience other boards and committees. So if anybody wants to
if you want to.
move around a bit.
If you want to talk to a few people before next month and see if somebody's willing to switch, just bring it to us. We'll put it in the minutes next month and you can switch.
Okay.
If you don't want to take the time to do it now.
Board. Community corrections, but I'm not sure if there's a citizen appointment, a council appointment. I'm not sure which one I'm on.
John, you're on Regional Sewer District.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, that was more than 1 year appointment, so you're still good to sit on the Sewer District. Bob is on the Wage Appeals. Corey, I think you are too. Rex, you're on the Solid Waste Board. Fred is on Park and Rec, and Community Corrections.
Park Direct, Community Corrections, and I think there's 1 or 2 others. I thought.
Because the only ones I have,
go to like every department.
I only have in front of me the changes that were made last year in 23, and Rex is on the IT change committee. But what I can do is I can go back and look and find what everybody is actually on
Yeah, why don't you do that and distribute that to
and
us?
distribute that to all of you via email. Discuss. If there's somebody that is willing to switch or wants to switch, then we can get that all changed for next month. One more.
You take a motion to what planning commission appointments next meeting.
Sign that here. Top line, that's for the library one. No, I think we already had the motion, second, and vote on all of the appointees, right?
Yep.
Okay. The committees that council members sit on, I'm going to get that email to all of council so that they can see what everybody's on, and then if they want to try doing something else or whatever, they can figure that out. And I believe that that is all that I have. What is it? Other vendors? Yeah, other vendors. And we already did the salary ordinance. Yeah, that was Fred and Jim. So that's already done. The only thing is other matters.
Any other matters to be brought before us this morning? Ed?
Morning, everyone. Happy New Year.
Morning.
I want to talk to you a bit about my budget. First of the year, every department head has different seminars, conventions and such that they're supposed to go to. And I spoke with Tony about this, and I spoke with my liaison, Kathy. My budget for travel had been reduced considerably, and I don't have enough money in there to do what I'm supposed to do. I can get to the first one, but after that, I have about 4 more. 2 of them in southern Indiana, right on the Ohio River, and at least 3 in Indianapolis. And I've been told that the money will arrive, but it's not. So I just need to know from you folks what you want me to
I
do.
think part of that comes out of what Tom is able to give out of his
Yeah.
recorder's perk.
It hasn't been reduced. It's gonna be added to
Yeah,
the
it's a lot
recorder's
bigger
perp
than
and
this
it just hasn't, it'll probably go in, so I have to do an additional for it. And as I think Tony said earlier, we can't do additionals right now.
That's gonna come from the
I remember
recorder's
reducing
perk.
it.
We can't do that yet because we don't have our 2024 budget orders yet.
I understand that.
So it's gonna come.
I
Just
will
be
take
patient.
that. The only thing is, I need to start getting reservations in for all this, and I just want to make sure that I can go. Okay?
You'll be fine.
Do what you have to do, Ed. We'll make sure you're good.
Got it.
Yeah, I guess,
Thank you.
based on that, I remember, Tom came and wanted to kind of consolidate all that.
Exactly.
And we approved it, obviously, but now
just
I'm
hasn't-
realizing the repercussions of this.
Well, it just hasn't moved yet because DLGF has not released our 2024.
I get that, but I don't remember the reasoning. What
So
was the
that he
advantage
could
of it?
give more to the elected officials for training.
Because
Tom,
wasn't that like a restricted account? So we were trying to
Yeah.
find a way to use
That
that
what it was?
money
Yeah.
instead of using county.
I will
general
say
fund.
this though too, before, like next year's, when we're going through this process, I had another department head approach me about, they kind of screwed up their plans. They weren't, that was done without their knowledge. So next year, we just have to make sure that, department heads maybe come together and discuss those types of things. That way, we are not, inadvertently putting somebody
I
in a
will
hard
say
spot.
next year it will have to stay in county general. I don't think that fund will have the cash balance for next year. And that is like the recorder's money. So he was just trying to help out
Okay.
county general by paying it out of that fund.
Just to keep everything from coming out of general?
Yeah, so he said for 1 year that he would take some extras out of his recorder's it's elected official training fund. But we've already talked that he obviously can't do it every year, and so for 2025 the differences will revert back to county general, but nobody's budget was cut. All the department heads that I have talked to, I have told them multiple times, their budgets were not cut. It's just that the decision was made after budgets were published, and I can't do the additional to get it into the elected officials training fund until probably February or March, but they have the monies.
and next year going into budgets, Ed, me, others, we're not going to be able to rely on that recorder's per fund. We'll have to ask for whatever we think we need to budget for travel and everything else for them to approve at that time, but we won't have the help of the elected official training fund out of recorder's per.
Just also though, in the future, for anything like that, the department heads all need to be informed if something like that's gonna happen, and they need to work it out.
I just not seen anything on paper yet, but thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Ed.
Twenty 2023 was a year of major accomplishments. We spent a lot of ARPA money, sold the county home and property, and look forward to another challenging year in 2024, and appreciate all your effort and considerations and work in moving us forward. Any other matters to be brought before us?
Thank you, Dennis.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor?
Was that Bob? Bob second? John second?
Fred.
No, John made the motion, you seconded?
Got a couple things here.
It's just.
Look at.
Bye, Bree.